Hey, everybody, welcome back to Black Lotus, where we talk about everything strange and unusual. And we just watched The Conjuring 2 the other day, which is about this family from Leeds, England, way back when, who had a little girl who was possessed. I thought it was really good.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to do a full review about that tomorrow on our other channel, Pop Views, and I'll definitely drop a link for that. Anyway, so we're not going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about The Exorcist and the exorcism that actually took place in real life that inspired the film. But anyway, before we get into that today, I want to remind everybody that we do have a group over at Facebook, and it's called the Black Lotus Discussion Group, and I'll drop a link for that as well. If you're into the paranormal and UFOs and cryptids and that sort of thing, definitely come check us out. We're a great group of people, a lot of experts on the paranormal and ufologists and that sort of thing. So definitely check us out. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to us. Anyway, let's get into it today. Like I said, The Exorcist was based on a real life exorcism, and it took place back in like the late 40s. Apparently there was a family that lived in suburban Washington D.C. up in Maryland, and the family's name was Hunkler. I think that's the way you pronounce it. And anyway, their 13-year-old boy, who was believed to be named Ronald, but they think it's a pseudonym to protect his
Ronald
identity.
Doe, and they also called him Robbie Mannheim.
Yeah. But anyway, apparently he was despondent over the loss of his Aunt Harriet, and she was a spiritualist who had taught him how to use a Ouija board. But anyway, in early January of 1949, after Harriet's death, Ronald began to experience kind of really strange things going on with him. I mean, insofar as that he heard scratching sounds coming from the floors and the walls of his room, and he heard water dripping, inexplicably from the pipes in the walls. And one of the most troubling things that happened was that his bed would rise up and shake for no apparent reason. But they contacted the local priest there, and his name was Father E. Albert Hughes, and they told him about their problems, and apparently he contacted his superiors to get permission to perform an exorcism on that little boy. And in February of '49, they started to conduct it. However, I guess the priest stopped the rite when Ronald broke off a piece of spring
From the bed.
And he was lashed down. He was strapped down, and apparently he took that spring and lashed the priest across his shoulders, and so he canceled the exorcism at that point, which kind of surprises me a little bit, because I mean most priests, I don't think that they would stop at that point, but apparently he did. And anyway, so he was starting to get scratches on his body, this Ronald, and one of the scratches spelled out the word Lewis, and the family took that as an indication that they should move to St. Louis, where they had family and friends living there. And so they eventually moved into a house there, and a cousin of the family was attending St. Louis University at the time of Ronald's problems. And she put the Hunklers in touch with Father Walter H. Halloran and Reverend William Bodern. And they agreed to do an exorcism on the kid. And now, during the exorcism, apparently it was largely depicted as it is in the film, where things are flying all over the place and all that stuff. And it was a long and exhaustive exorcism, but eventually they were able to coax out what they thought were probably 10 demons. Hence, we are legion.
Yeah, during the whole thing, he actually ended up breaking one of the priest's nose.
Yeah. So, and eventually they coaxed it out, and one of the things that the demons had said through Ronald was, we will always be with Satan. Well, at that point, the priest called upon the Archangel Michael, and apparently when the boy came out of it, he simply said he's gone, and he reported seeing a big battle between the Archangel Michael and Satan on a big battlefield.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I think that's interesting that the film was based on all of that, but it doesn't end there, because you did some research into this, and you found that there were a lot of cursed things that happened on the film set.
A lot of things happen on the set, almost as spooky as some of the stuff that Ronald was doing. Mm-hmm. But I guess one of the biggest things was there was a fire on the set while they were filming. And what was very strange about this fire is everything burned except for the room that Regan and the exorcism took place in.
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom. That's the only part of the set that survived.
Huh.
But during the Roman premiere of The Exorcist, there was a church across the street, and that ended up getting hit by lightning.
I heard about that, yeah.
So a lot of little things like that happened and stuff. There's a lot of injuries during the filming. Ellen Burstyn, who played Regan's mother, she was actually thrown to the ground during one of the parts by Regan, and her screams are actually real. She actually hurt her back during that. They actually used that cut, of course, very realistic, because it was.
Yeah.
Linda Blair herself, she broke her lower back, had a crack in it from the part of the movie where she's flipping up and down on the bed really quick.
Right.
That mechanism basically injured her back for life.
Wow.
So that wasn't good for life. Yeah, she still has problems with it. But what I thought is all the deaths involved in this movie is just not normal. I mean, I understand if you're filming something for a year, those people are going to die and stuff. Jack McGowan's brother died, or Linda Blair's grandfather died during the filming of it. Jason Miller, who plays Father Damien Karras, almost was killed in a motorcycle accident. Stuff like that is kind of strange that those all happen. But then you get things like Mercedes McCambridge. Now, she did the voice of Pazuzu. Say that 3 times fast. And in 1987, her son went crazy, killed all his wife, all his children, and then killed himself.
Really? Yeah.
So that's a little more freakish death involved.
Well, and you mentioned that somebody in the film, I don't remember who it was, the technician or something like that, ended up being a serial killer.
Right. There was an X-ray tech in the film. Now, when they filmed the part, which was really disturbing, where they were doing all the tests on Regan in the hospital, they actually went to a real hospital, and the X-ray technician and the assistant were actually a real X-ray technician and his real assistant. They wanted it to look real, so they just used the real people that normally would, use the machines. Well, several years later, he ended up becoming a serial killer. Now, if you remember back in the 80s, a movie came out called Cruising. It was about a man who went to leather gay bars and lured people in and killed them. Well, that was starring Al Pacino. Al Pacino, and it was actually directed by William Friedkin also.
Who did The Exorcist?
Who directed The Exorcist. It was directed by him, too. That's based on the true story of the X-ray technician. The X-ray technician only admitted to killing one person, though. There's 6 others that they are speculating that he did also, but he only admitted to one. So he did 24 years plus 5 years probation.
Now, did you ever find out, is he still alive?
I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he did get out of jail and was still healthy when he left.
The laws confuse me. They really do.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you know, some people can be convicted of murder and get out in 25 years, and then you got somebody like Charles Manson, who never committed a murder, but just inspired people to commit those murders, and yet he died in prison.
Right.
It just doesn't make much sense to me. But anyway.
A lot of people believe that this whole movie, the film itself, is actually evil. So there's a lot of things that people, when they're going to the theater, there's people fainting and having conniption fits and
stuff. If you think about it, I mean, back during that time period, I mean, that was some scary stuff. I remember years ago when I lived in Oregon, I lived with a roommate who had two kids, and both boys, and one was 11, the other one was 13 or something like that. And that was during the time when they had re-released the updated version of The Exorcist, the high definition stuff. And the kids were like, "Oh, I want to go see it. I want to go see it." And I was like, "I don't know. It's pretty scary." And I said, I remember having nightmares for months after I saw this. And that only intrigued their interest even more.
Of course.
And so my roommate, Charlie, she and I talked about it and agreed, okay, well, let's give them what they want, And so we took them to see this, and the whole time the kids are sitting there like this, peering through their hands. And at the end of it, I said, "What did you guys think? What you saw of it anyway." And the one kid said he was just scared out of his mind, and the other kid was like, "Meh, it wasn't that scary." But if you think about it, with today's kids, I don't think that they would consider The Exorcist all that scary. Because I think that they're jaded by all the effects that you see in movies and stuff like that. But yeah. But I mean, without a doubt, it was a horribly scary movie. It scared the hell out of me.
Right. The book did too. When I read the book before I saw the movie.
Yeah. I've never read the book, but I'm taken that it's pretty accurate to the film is accurate to the book.
Yeah, I read the book a few times, and it's a very good read. If you're into those type of books, and you haven't read it, I definitely urge you to pick it up and read it.
Yeah, one of these days I'll read it, most definitely. Yeah, but anyway, folks, what do you think about this? Do you think that The Exorcist was the true story of The Exorcist? Do you think that it was caused by the fact that the boy's aunt had taught him how to use a Ouija board? And do you think that the Ouija board was the reason for all of this in the first place? And beyond that, what do you think about exorcisms? Do you believe that there are demonic entities out there that can be exorcised from people? There's been a lot of cases. That doesn't mean it's true, but who knows? So anyway, let's get out of here, man.
Sounds good.
So anyway, folks, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening on our podcast over at Anchor. And again, I'll drop a link for that as well. And until next time, keep thinking and question everything.